All right, in this rematch of the 2018 NFC Championship game between the Saints and the Rams, obviously a big storyline was Drew Brees' injury, but the next biggest storyline was the no call or the blown call by the referees in this game that affected the Saints again against the Rams. You saw it early in the game. It was a 3-3 tie when Jared Goff, the Rams quarterback, was stripped. He fumbled. Cam Jordan picked up the fumble and returned it 83 yards for a touchdown, but the play was whistled dead and the touchdown was wiped off altogether. Now, we mentioned Drew Brees getting injured. Teddy Bridgewater was the backup quarterback. They ended up, because they whistled it dead, they would review it. They found out that it was a fumble, but they placed the ball at the 13-yard line because that was when the clear recovery had happened for the Saints. But it took 7 points off the board, and it forced a backup quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater to try to drive the length of the field in order to be able to make those points that were lost. The NFL has yet to come out with a statement. I'm sure that they will come out with a statement soon saying that that call was blown. Sean Payton said at halftime to Aaron Andrews that he's just so tired of being on the bad end of some of these calls. And look, it's not just the Saints' no call from last year. It's not just the blown call on Jordan's fumble return touchdown today. You even go back to their Week 1 opening game against the Houston Texans. Remember, there was 31 seconds left in the half. Michael Thomas almost picks up a first down. They had to review the play. They let time waste off the clock, and then they ended up taking a 10-second runoff penalty from the wrong starting point from 26 seconds down to 16. It cost the Saints 15 seconds, and it forced Will Lutz to have to kick a 55-yard field goal. Those were, valuable yards and time that could have been on the clock, extra time that could have been on the clock to help them get in better field goal position or even maybe score a touchdown. So this is 3 straight games dating back to the NFC Championship game last year where the Saints have been on the short end of the stick as far as these calls are concerned. And man, I know it was early in the game. There was still plenty of ball to be able to play, but it's a huge momentum swing, and the Saints came up empty. And especially when you have your backup quarterback in, you need breaks like that to be able to go your way. There were some concerning things, though, that were within the Saints' control that you look at today that really make you worried about the rest of the season if they can't get it cleaned up. The first thing that popped out to me is the Saints' secondary. That was something that was really concerning. They gave up 380 total yards of offense to the Rams, but 265 of those came through the air. And one guy that really stuck out like a sore thumb is supposed to be your number 1 corner and one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, Marshawn Lattimore. He gave up not only the 67-yard play to Cooper Kupp. He was in coverage on him in the slot. It was originally a touchdown, but then it was called down at the 1. He also gave up the 50-plus yard gain to Brandon Cooks early in the game, and the Rams' second touchdown of the game, Marshawn Lattimore also allowed that to Brandon Cooks as well. So there was a lot of busted coverage, and something that really has to concern you, because you even go back to the game against the Texans last week, and when the Saints had clinched a lead late with under 2 minutes to go, all of a sudden in 2 plays, Deshaun Watson and the Texans marched down the field, and in the span of like 20 seconds, the Texans have the lead back. So this is a secondary that we thought was going to be better this year as they started to come on near the end of last year with the addition of Eli Apple, after they had traded with the Giants to be able to acquire him like halfway through the season. Von Bell started to play better, so did Marcus Williams, and now they're kind of one of those units where it's just kind of head-scratching. They finished 29th in the NFL in pass defense last year, and they look like they're on pace to finish somewhere like that right now. Of course, there's still plenty of time left to be able to rectify that, but still a significant thing within the storyline of the game. The other thing was shooting yourself in the foot. Teddy Bridgewater looked like he came in and was ready to play, but the Saints offense, the rest of them, the other 10 players on the field, seemed like they were still shell-shocked from Brees' injury. They didn't play very well, and anytime that Bridgewater did have some good throws, and he did have some nice plays under the circumstances, they had a lot of penalties that backed them up. They had 11 penalties for 87 yards in that first half. Right after Brees got injured, there were a couple plays that stood out to me. There was one big play to Kamara that was wiped out because rookie center Eric McCoy had a holding call. There was another, that was to Taysom Hill. Josh Hill. then the next play, there was a big play to Kamara that was a big third down conversion, but that was wiped out because Jared Cook had a block in the back penalty, one of those crackback blocks that knocked out a big play. So they just weren't able to gather any momentum, and anytime they were, they shot themselves in the foot. Up front, the one thing that I did like out of this defense was that they didn't allow a 100-yard rusher. Todd Gurley didn't go over 100 yards. Brown didn't go over 100 yards. They had collectively as a team over 100 yards rushing. But look, if you can portion that out between some of those game-changing players in their backfield, especially someone like Gurley, you would live with that all day. But what you saw from the secondary was certainly concerning. And while people will point back to Cam Jordan not getting the right call on the field, and that was a significant play, no question about it as far as the momentum of the game was concerned, there are a lot of things that the Saints have to clean up themselves, starting with their secondary and starting with the lack of discipline with the penalties that they've had. We'll have more tonight at the Eyewitness News at 10 and on 4th Down on 4. Make sure and join us. We'll have Doug Mouton in LA to wrap things up.